From Ireland to Italy, from Spain to Norway, hiking is hip. Hiking is young, hiking is green and healthy, and you can only get up close when you're on foot. Everywhere in Europe.
Sometimes it's hard to match the topography to the map because there's so many small hills and ups and downs. But the way is so clearly marked that it's I have to try really hard to get lost here. So I think I'm going that way.
Bradley Mayhew is British and lives in the United States. He writes travel and trekking guides. Usually he's in faraway Asia, but now he's exploring the most beautiful hiking trails of Europe. Someone's already waiting for Bradley at the Tralee railway station.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Had a good journey?
Very good.
Good,
Yeah.
good.
But I'm ready to hike.
Ready to hike?
Yeah.
The Dingle Way awaits, okay?
Linda Woods is a guide on the Dingle Way. For more than 15 years, she's led people from around the world on one of the most beautiful hiking trails of Ireland. Linda's going to accompany Bradley along the first 2 stages of the hike.
So this map board now, this shows you the official start of the Dingle Way.
Okay.
And the Dingle Way is about 25 years old, and it follows a lot of the old roads that were around the Dingle Peninsula. So some old roads, some old pilgrim paths, and continues around the whole perimeter. Okay, let's go.
At the edge of the town, there's a landmark from the 19th century that serves as a reminder of the difficult relationship between Ireland and England. At that time, almost the entire Dingle Peninsula belonged to English landowners.
So Blennerville Windmill here was named after the English family that settled in this area, the Blenner Hassets, and they reclaimed an awful lot of land out here for cereal crops. Working for the English wasn't the way that an awful lot of Irish people wanted to live, and so a lot of them emigrated from here. And there was nothing for them. They couldn't own the land, they couldn't make a living, there was no prospects for them because the English had the stronghold on everything. And when the potato crop failed, that was what the Irish were living off. The potato crop failed and the famine years came along, and a lot of people then started to emigrate from this port.
About 1,000 hikers walk the Dingle Way each year. Most come from the United States and the UK.
It's always a bit weird being English or British coming to Ireland. There's a lot of bad history, bad blood over the years. I don't think the English have that much to be proud of in this part of the world, but I'm expecting a very warm welcome. The Irish are great people. I get on with them really well. The route's going to be great. I think lots of mountains, lots of coast, maybe some beach, lots of lovely Irish villages, and I'm sure there'll be a few pubs mixed in there as well. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
There are 2 hiking trails in County Kerry. The Dingle Way, over 120 kilometres long, passes through a port town also named Dingle. From there, a boat goes to the neighbouring peninsula. On the Kerry Way, it's another 140 kilometres to Killarney, the final destination of the hike. Bradley plans to spend around 2 weeks on the path.
I think That's an interesting thing.
This one piece will make 52 layers.
Watch on mobile devices or the big screen. All for free. No subscription required.
Early in the morning, the beaches of Tralee Bay are virtually deserted. A lot is being done here to protect nature, but when it comes to the rubbish that washes up from the Atlantic, there isn't much David McCormick and Alan Balfe can do. The two of them come to the beach regularly, and not just when the sun shines.
Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it? Yeah, we're doing a bit of work for an organisation called Coast Watch here. It's about citizen science surveying the whole coastline. Governments obviously don't have the resources to do it, every inch of the coast, but without the information, it's hard to see where the problems are. So all you do is you can download a form like this, and anyone can do it. We get schools involved and volunteer groups, scouts.
And is it in pretty good shape, the beach?
In fairness, it's in very good shape. What's great about the beaches in Kerry is every community will have a beach that they really keep an eye on. So a couple of times during the summer there'll be a big community beach clean in a few places, which is why beaches like this are almost pristine.
What kind of rubbish do you find here?
Well, it's amazing what will turn up. I mean, if you go straight that way, there's nothing until America. So, you pick up a can on the beach and it might have, a New York label on it, or something from the US, or even something weirder like Cyrillic or Japanese. It's clearly done the rounds of the ocean for a long, long time. And then sometimes, you'll get stuff from much closer to home. So, I mean, if you look just there, we've a fishing net that's probably come from a trawler.
Well, great. I'm glad you're doing this. Thanks. It's nice to walk on a really clean, fresh beach.
I suppose it makes your walk a little bit
It
more
does.
pleasant.
Thanks very much.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
The second day takes Linda and Bradley out onto a small spit of land to the village of Moor. They stop for a bite to eat at a restaurant popular with hikers. The special of the day, mussels in white wine sauce.
The boat up over our heads, that's called a curragh or a navogue. Those are the words that we have for it here locally. And that's an old fishing boat. So there's only one man left in Ireland who makes them. And he's a guy called Monty. He lives just around behind us here, so I'll bring you to him later. It's really good. Great. Yeah, they're made by hand and they're the old fishing boats.
In the old days, all the local fishermen had a carrack. But the traditional ashwood carracks have long been overtaken by plastic boats. Nowadays, Monty Leary is rarely commissioned to build a boat.
Wow.
But Linda and Bradley are in luck. He's working on one now.
It's a 4-man fishing curragh, navogue.
So how long is the boat?
Boat is 26 feet long and it's about 4 foot 6 wide. And the depth under the sea is about 15 inches.
So it's nice and shallow.
It's shallow, yeah. It floats in little water with 4 people inside it.
So how long does it take you to make a boat like this?
It takes roughly about 3 weeks.
Oh, it's pretty quick.
From start to finish. There's a good bit of work in it, but when you get used, the more you make. Because the first one, I didn't make the first one as fast. But I have a model here. I have a model now I could show you what it's made of, the finished type. The finished Kerry boat.
Of course, the tools used by Monty are more modern than those used by his grandfather. But the design and building technique have changed very little.
Get in the boat, the water off. tar, you canvas 18 inch cotton duck,
Yeah.
and you put it over boiled tar, and it preserves it and waterproofs it. And lasts for 30 years if you take care of it. And they took care of it. Mm-hmm. Stay sitting, that's okay. Sit for a
Perhaps not surprisingly, Monty himself uses a carrot when he goes to check his traps. Like almost everyone here, he fishes for crabs, for his own consumption. Brown crabs are easy to recognise by the black tips on the end of their powerful claws.
Which one's it? Yeah, he's the dentist, you know, he's located in the right place.
Nice.
He's the edible crab. Huh?
Pretty good, huh?
Nice crab.
Yeah, they look great. This one's a bit feisty.
Oh,
How's that? What? That's
male spider crab. He's a little bit smaller.
okay. Yeah, great. It's a pretty good catch. You happy with that?
Yeah, very happy with that. We'll have a nice meal now. We're going.
However, it suddenly becomes necessary to head quickly back to shore.
When we got the lobster pot in, we accidentally made a hole in the bottom of the boat. This is why we're rowing quite so fast. We've got about 5 minutes before we're completely filled with water.
Bit of a hole out, the pot went through the canvas.
Yeah, there's definitely a hole.
This is a little bit of
That'll
hole.
do it.
We can patch it easily enough and just put a bit of wood inside and just
Yeah,
patch around here with a bit of tar.
no problem then.
Perfect, no problem now.
Good.
Not a lot of damage.
Thanks a million, Monty. Yeah, we will indeed. Thanks very much indeed.
Okay, bye-bye.
A long chain of hills stretches along the north coast of the Dingle Peninsula. In the valley hollows, the path runs through a moorland. Bradley is now on his own. In the moors of the almost treeless Ireland, peat has been harvested for centuries. Michael Dowd has a crisis-proof job. Ireland is by far the largest peat consumer in the world, at 500,000 tonnes a year.
Hi. How are you? I'm good, thanks. Sorry to disturb your working.
That's okay.
I'm surprised it's I didn't expect to see a machine doing it. I thought it was all done by hand.
Well, there was no help long, with the number of years, so I did it with a machine for the last 20 years now. There was no help by people.
Right.
So they did it with a machine then. So there was a need for a machine sort of.
So what do they use the peat for?
It is used basically for heating houses, for fires. That's all, just for heating the houses.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
you have to let it dry out.
It has to be, well, it's dependent very much on weather. It has to be left to dry out, and then it has to be footed, what they call footed standard, and let it dry for saved more or less. So you need fine weather to get it saved and dry, and then just taken home.
And there's no environmental damage to cutting out the
I don't
the
think there
turf?
is, because as you can see, the ground has gone back to the same thing again afterwards, after being cut, like, because I'm taking the top off and placing it back
Right.
and originally, so all that's been missing is the turf in between, the bog itself in between, so it shouldn't have any negative effect as such.
Well, thanks for your time.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
it. Let you get back to work.
Enjoy the rest of your holiday.
Yeah, we'll do. Wish you
All right.
dry weather.
Hope so.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
At the end of a small bay lies the village of Clohane. Bradley found his small hotel over the internet. All kinds of accommodation can be found along the Dingle Way, and many places are attached to pubs.
This is pretty much the kind of room you'd find on the hiking trails. It's simple but very comfortable. A hot shower, a little sink to wash my hiking socks in the evening. And there's so many B&Bs along this route that you never have a problem finding a place to stay at the end of a hiking day. And this one's a great one because it's right above a pub, so you can go down and get a hot meal, listen to some music, have a couple of pints of Guinness, and then just stumble up the stairs, and you've got a place to stay. It's perfect for me.
Oh, it's a long, long way. It gets further day by day. It's a long, long
O'Connor's in Clohane is very popular, even at this early hour. At the bar, Bradley gets to know the hiker Tony O'Callaghan. Here, everyone knows this folk song. It tells of an Irish immigrant's yearning for his home country.
It's a long, long way from there to here. It's a long, long way. It's further day by day. It's a long, long way from there to here. Oh, it's a long, long way. It's further day by day. It's a long, long way from there to here. It's a long, long way from there to here.
It seems like the tradition of playing live music is still very much alive here in Ireland.
It is. It's quite strong in the pubs. There's still a great connection and a great passion, and it brings the local community in, and it reflects the tragedy, the beauty, the vagaries of life. It does, and it connects people with their own environment. And
it's hard to travel through Ireland without hearing this.
It is. Well, it's part of our fabric, and it's in our genes, in our soul. So anyway, thank you.
Happy walking.
Thank you.
The next morning, bad weather has been forecast for the day. Tony has decided to join Bradley for part of the way. The trail runs through a lonely, uninhabited area, not exactly the safest place to be when there's fog.
It closes in very quickly.
It does, yeah. You have to be able to figure a way of getting to your
You
destination.
get lost quite easily, I guess.
So some of the places are marked, but where they're not marked on the mountains, you need to be able to navigate.
Right.
It is a prerequisite really for safety.
Yeah. I always carry a whistle. I've always got a map, but it's nice to actually hike with someone. I was lucky I met you last night over a pint.
Well, you're very wise to take precautions.
Yeah.
Yes,
Never hike alone. That's the
no.
rule. So this must be one of the wilder sections of the walk, isn't it?
It is. It is quite remote, and things change fast here.
Yeah, it's a pretty steep drop down there, isn't it?
It is. It is 500 feet.
Yeah.
200 meters to the bottom there, as we're walking west. So there's a lot of danger on your right.
Tony has written a book about the Dingle Way. He knows the most interesting places and has a lot to say about them.
Slightly. And you see these striated lines?
Yep.
That's from a glaciation period in Ireland, about 10,000 years ago.
Okay.
A perfect example of where a corrie or an ice floe would have been born and eventually melted and gone onto the sea in that direction.
So it just scooped out the depression
and scraped and left the direction of the flow
Right.
on the ground. On the
That's
stone.
great, you can still see
You
it.
can, it's still living.
The most difficult stage of the Dingle Way is crossing the coastal mountains at Brendan Point. By now, Bradley and Tony have been walking for about 6 hours. The fog has finally lifted, revealing a view of the coastal cliffs. Then the path goes downhill. Ahead of them lies a stretch of land known to all the people of Ireland. The coast here is closely connected with the priest and adventurer, St. Brendan. Ever since his canonisation, he's been the patron saint of Irish seamen.
Well, Bradley, this is Brendan Creek.
Okay.
A very famous place for remembering St. Brendan.
Yeah.
This was his mountain, and he got the inspiration for a voyage, and they built a boat, a hide boat.
Yeah.
And it was from this they left in the 6th century and sailed up by the Faroes, up to Iceland, and across the North Atlantic, and discovered America.
That's quite a voyage.
Quite a voyage.
Are you sure he made it all the way to
he
America?
did, certain as any Kerryman can be.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's about 900 years before Columbus, isn't it?
That's right, Bradley. Yes, yes.
It's amazing.
It is. It was a wonderful, wonderful, epic voyage.
Yeah, an amazing voyage.
Thanks for your company.
Oh, thank you. It's been a great
Time
walking.
for Tony to go home.
And enjoy it.
Yeah, we'll do.
Great.
Thanks so much, Tony.
So, bye.
On the stretch ahead, it's difficult to get lost. From here, the Dingle Way follows some country roads to the village of Carrick. On the Dingle Peninsula, Irish traditions have been preserved. At this dance school, young children learn the rinchi, the tap dance of the Irish. Jonathan Kellier works for the National Folk Theatre of Ireland. Once a week, he gives rinchi lessons in Carrick.
Hi, how are you?
Sorry to disturb you.
Okay,
I just heard
okay.
the music and it sounded so great. I just wanted to...
Yeah, come in and have a look.
And is this a specific type of Irish dance?
It's actually very, very old form of Irish dancing. Some of these steps are up to 100 years old because we've had recordings of these old dance masters going back years and years that we've picked the steps up, and we haven't gone to the modern step dancing as such, so we're kind of keeping at the really old style.
Yeah, it's great to see that kind of traditional thing kept alive, especially with such young people.
Yeah, it is great. It's part of what we do in the National Folk Theatre. We do a lot of singing and keeping the old songs alive, and the music and the dance, and putting them all together on stage then. And this is where the training starts. Do you want to have a go before you leave? I think you should.
I'll have a try, but I warn you, I've got 2 left feet.
Sure, Guillaume.
And they're both wearing trekking boots.
The guys here will help you out anyway. Come in the middle there and we'll try. Okay. We start the very basic jump to trees guys, the first one, okay? I count you in. Ready? 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, that's good. Very good. Again. 1, 2, 3.
Wow, that is tough. It's much harder than it looks. Kudos to you guys. You guys are great. Well done. Whew. That's a lot more difficult than hiking.
Yeah, okay. It keeps you fit.
It keeps you fit, so it does. Thank you for your time.
Pleasure,
It was
absolute pleasure.
fantastic.
Yeah, glad you enjoyed it. Glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, keep going, guys.
Okay,
great.
Thank you very
Fantastic.
much.
Bye.
Okay, we'll go from the top, guys. Last one. Okay.
In the western part of the Dingle Peninsula, the trail goes past many structures from early Christian times. The Gallerus Oratory was built entirely without mortar. Bradley has an appointment with the archaeologist Michael Gibbons.
What a great building.
No, it's extraordinarily beautiful. The stonework is what really hits you. Corbel building, standing here for the best part of 1,000 years, but it's really beautifully designed and wonderfully executed in this gorgeous stonework here. So, it's a really dramatic building, fabulous. There was thousands of early churches in Ireland, but 3 at this level of preservation, and this is by far and away the best preserved of them. Stunning, beautiful, gorgeous, boat-shaped, upturned oratory, as they're described. So, a really lovely example from early medieval Ireland.
It's surprisingly light in here, isn't it?
No, it's gorgeous because what's happening, the light now is flooding in through the window, lighting up the whole interior here. So initially it's quite blinded by the dark, and then you're blinded by the light as it floods in, and it fills the room.
So there would have been congregations, services here, or
small congregation. Of course, you would have an altar here, the centre now missing. There would have been probably a stone or even a wooden altar here.
Yeah.
Small congregations for the host community.
And just a stone's throw from Gallerus Oratory, the ruins of Kilmalkedda Church. During the Middle Ages, it was the most important sacred site on the Dingle Peninsula.
And the lovely things about this church is the gorgeous Romanesque arch, the chancel arch here. Because you've got the very fine detail on it, with exquisite decoration from the 12th century, which survives still on the church.
Detail's still there, isn't it?
It's unbelievably crisp decoration still surviving here all these years.
So what are we standing in at the moment?
We're standing in the remains of a circular house, the larger house in front of us, with a nice causeway entrance. Then this is sort of granny flat, or an extension to it. It would have been once roofed with timber, in this case, with stone foundations, an underground chamber in it, a bunker, and then that's within a larger orbit of a stone wall, or a cashel, or a vallum, and they would have building them like this in order to protect them from cattle raiding, is what the Irish do to each other.
Right.
Cattle in early Irish society have the status of individuals, so they're very prestigious. So your wealth is measured in how much cattle you have, and as a lord you raid to get more cattle.
Very impressive. And a great location.
Wonderful location, because you're looking down on the whole valley here, and there are dozens of other similar sites in the area here.
I've been quite surprised at not only the sheer number of sites from different historical layers, but how well preserved they are. I guess everything's in stone. It's pretty long lasting. But you can build up quite an interesting picture of what life must have been like. You've got pilgrims walking from church to church. You've got monks in their monasteries, copying manuscripts and heading off to morning chapel. And you've got people hunkered down in these amazing fortified settlements, hoping that someone doesn't come crashing over the ramparts to steal your cattle and maybe a son or daughter as a hostage. So I think it was probably quite a tough life.
It's early in the morning, and Bradley's already on his way. Today's leg of the trail leads to Dunmore Head, the westernmost point of Ireland. The great thing about hiking is getting to meet people and have interesting conversations along the way.
Good. You're up bright and early?
Yeah, you too. Well,
Peter Cox is on the Dingle Way for professional reasons.
It's like this time of day, isn't it? Do you mind if I have a look through at the frame?
Sure, you're more than welcome.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, you got the headland here, leads you up to the left, to the island on the left, and then it takes you across.
Do people still live on those islands?
They used to up until the 1950s, but then they were evacuated. And also, that's on the Great Blasket Island on Inishvicalan, which is the leftmost. There were also people there at one time, but nobody lives there anymore.
Peter and Bradley are going in the same direction. And since Bradley isn't in a hurry, he waits around while Peter takes his photos. Ireland seems to have a magical attraction for landscape photographers. Peter's pictures capture unique moments of atmospheric light and colour. Often he goes to the same location year in, year out, in the hope of capturing the perfect shot.
So how did you end up becoming a professional photographer?
Well, the thing that really got me into photography was when I come out to places like this, and I'm just, you know, I get great joy from being out in places like this and being able to share that, which I think is the object of photography, is you capture something and capture a moment and a feeling, and you try to share that with the people that can see the photograph. Yeah, I grew up in Dublin. We used to come down here quite a lot when I was young, and Dingle particularly has a fantastic array. There's such a variety of landscapes. You've got tall mountains, you've got beaches, you've got rocky coastlines, and it's in such a small area. So I think it's one of my favorite places.
You're lucky to be doing what you love doing, getting paid for it, and be outdoors at the same time.
Yeah, I'm really very fortunate, and I count myself very lucky, and there's not a lot of people that get to say they really love what they do, but I certainly do.
Yeah. Can't do much better than that.
Absolutely.
From Dunmore Head, Peter and Bradley walk along the coast for about 4 hours. Shortly before the port town of Dingle, the two go their separate ways again. Peter's off to take more photographs. For Bradley, it's the last day on the Dingle Peninsula. This stage of his hike ends in the town of Dingle, at the harbour.
The idea was to try and link the Dingle Peninsula and the Kerry Peninsula, and the best way to do that is to take a boat. So I'm going to take a quick hop across the water and then start off on the Kerry Way.
The port lies protected in a small inlet. Just past the Dingle Lighthouse, a boat enters Dingle Bay.
I think this must be Fungi. He's Dingle Bay's most famous resident, a dolphin that's been living here for about 30 years. There's a whole mini industry built up around him now, a real local hero.
It takes about 2.5 hours to cross the waters to the Ivera Peninsula, or the Kerry Peninsula, as it's commonly called. It's the 8th day of the hike, and Bradley has just docked at the port in Knightstown. It's still a few kilometres on foot to the Kerry Way. Bradley's first rest stop on the Kerry Way is at the coastal resort of Waterville.
It's going to be interesting to see how the Kerry Peninsula is different after spending so many days in Dingle. Weather's still looking good, so I'm looking forward to the next few days. Headed on to Killarney.
The Kerry Way is a 200-kilometre long circular route. It begins and ends at the town of Killarney. To get there from here, it'll take Bradley 6 days. Along the way, Bradley passes through the Derrynane National Park, a protected coastline of sandy beaches and islands, of which Abbey Island is the most famous. The cemetery of a former monastery on Abbey Island is home to the family grave of the great national hero of Ireland, Daniel O'Connell. He died in 1847, far away from home. Daniel O'Connell is the embodiment of Ireland's struggle for freedom and independence from the English. His former ancestral home is known as the Derrynane House. The mansion is now a museum. On display are numerous relics of the lawyer and politician who successfully campaigned for the equal rights of Irish Catholics. A gifted speaker, Daniel O'Connell mobilised Catholic Ireland against the Protestant world power of England.
It was largely due to him that the Irish Emancipation Act came through in 1829, and that for the very first time gave Irish Catholics the right to worship in their own churches. Up until that point, they weren't allowed to have their own education. Daniel O'Connell became insanely popular, was known as the Great Liberator. That was what he's best remembered as, a symbol of Irish independence. And the Pope actually was so grateful to his works and what he did for the Catholic Church that he allowed him to build his own private chapel here in his estate.
Close to the national park lies the village of Daniel. Bradley plans on spending the night here. The town pub in Daniel is also an institution. In the evening, a group of young musicians play pieces composed for violin, flute and harp. The Celtic harp is one of the oldest instruments in the world. It plays a major role in the musical tradition of Ireland. Bradley is up and out before sunrise. He's decided to take a break from hiking today. Instead, he's doing an excursion to a small rocky island 12 kilometres off the coast of Kerry. To get there, Bradley's met up with boatman Des Lavelle. 30 years ago, Des brought the first visitors to the Skellig Islands. Remote and difficult to reach, Skellig Michael, the larger of the two islands, was inhabited from the 6th to the 12th century by monks who had renounced the world. The 600 very steep steps leading up to the old monastery are carved directly into the stone. Those who sought God on Skellig Michael didn't have it easy. It was a life dictated by the rhythm of prayer and meagre meals.
You come to the most important part of the whole thing, which is the water supply.
Right.
Here's a little cistern, always with plenty of water in, even in the fine summer, supplied by the solid rock up the back, the solid slope, and this was provided for even before the buildings were built. So the rainwater on the slope overhead was the source for all this, and it's so vital for the whole operation of the entire monastery. A dozen or maybe a maximum of 20 monks set up house. They couldn't have looked for a more isolated place on the coast of Ireland. They couldn't have found a more beautiful place on the coast of Ireland.
And what do you think the motivation of these people were?
The remoteness was the motivation. Here were people who were rejecting mainstream mainland and coming out here. How we would describe it today is to be nearer to God, I suppose, and that has to be their mentality too, perhaps in a different fashion, but nearer to God. So getting as far away as they could, that was a test in itself. But setting themselves the task of building this whole monastery out here, that was the super test. I mean, if that was the way to God, they got it. There's something about the Skelligs, and there is, and for me there is, and I've been looking at it for 70 years now. It's magic.
You know, for thousands of years, man has gone into the desert, up into the mountaintop, into caves, to try and find seclusion, but also to strip their lives down to the very elemental simplicities, the rock, the sea, the sun. And I think this is a great place to do that. You really get a sense of that. This is a place where people could confront their God and find some real peace. And that comes out, the landscape comes out of the buildings. Still has a lot of spiritual power for me.
Back in Daniel, Bradley is meeting up with Janet Sly. Janet's financing her history studies as a hiking guide.
Ready for some hiking?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Okay. I figure we'd start off from here, maybe do a detour to Steg Fort.
Yeah, beautiful, yeah.
And then just keep on following the Kerry Way and then to Sneem. Maybe time to head off. I wish my backpack was as small as yours.
Only one day to pack for, much easier.
This leg of the hike, which follows the old stagecoach road, takes them inland. Locally, the route to Sneem is called Old Butter Road.
So butter trails were created during the 18th and 19th century to bring butter from rural areas like Daniel into Cork City, into the butter exchange in Cork City.
Oh, interesting. That must have been very important for the local economy then, I guess.
It was hugely important, yeah. Great feeding grounds for the cows here in Kerry. So they used to bring the butter up for the British Army. So it's hugely important for areas like this to make some money and actually thrive a little bit during quite hard, difficult times.
Even that's too much.
In recent decades, sheep breeding has been on the rise in County Kerry. They're herded by English Border Collies.
They're doing, don't they?
Oh, they're so fast.
Keep it out, though. Keep it out. Keep it out. Keep it out.
After 3 hours, Bradley and Janet reached the ruins of a Celtic ring fortress. Stake Fort, one of the largest stone ring forts in Ireland, dates back to pre-Christian times.
Must have been something particularly nasty outside they wanted to keep out.
Well, they're not actually sure. There's a couple. It's speculated that it could have been a couple of different things. It might have been just a sign of wealth, a place to store their cattle, or another one is actually defence. Yeah, it would be a good place to look out over the landscape around us. And as you can see, there's the X-shaped stairs that can get you up onto the top, so you can look out over the land around.
The shared hike ends for Janet and Bradley in Sneem. This village is considered one of the most beautiful in Ireland. A French politician is known to have been particularly enamoured by the village.
So Charles de Gaulle, he spent some time here before he died in Sneem. He was very happy here. He seemed to find the people very friendly. Do you read any French?
A little bit, I'll give it a try. En ce moment grave de ma longue vie, j'ai trouvé ici ce que je cherchais. Être en face de moi-même, l'Irlande m'a offert de la façon la plus délicate, la plus amicale. It's nice, very pleasant.
Beautiful, yeah. He was obviously very happy.
Yeah, must have loved the place.
So here we are.
This is the junction, is it?
This is the junction, yeah.
Okay.
If you follow this road up along, you're going to get to Barak Bema Pass. It's great walking with you today.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, absolute pleasure.
Safe
Enjoy
travels.
it now.
Bye. I've been following the coastline for almost my entire hike now, and I have to say I love it. The way the light catches the waves, the lovely little fishing villages and coves. It's been really great. Now the Kerry Way heads inland, heads towards the mountains, so I'm just savouring the last few glimpses of the sea now.
From Lake Accuse, where Bradley has spent the night, it's still about another 50 kilometres to the end of the trail. Macgillycuddy's Reeks is a harsh and desolate mountain range. The only people you're likely to meet here are other hikers.
Hi. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. It's a little bit steep, this section, so yeah, a little bit tough. How far is it to the pass?
Oh, 5 minutes, I guess.
Okay, that's good.
Okay.
And where have you come from?
We come from Black Valley and go to Clamberson.
Ah, okay, great. It's not so far. That's where I came from today. So.
Okay, very good.
Well, enjoy the trail.
You too. Bye.
It wasn't too bad a hike, about 3 hours or so. You only gain about 300-400 metres, so it's not too bad. Right behind me are the Macgillycuddy's Reeks. These are the highest mountains in Ireland. And you've got beautiful valleys on both sides of the pass. I'm going to be dropping down here into the Black Valley. So all downhill from here, I think.
For Bradley, it's the last day of hiking on the Kerry Way in the southwest of Ireland. The descent to the Black Valley ends at the lakes of Killarney National Park. From here, Bradley continues by boat. While the Dingle Way largely follows the coast, the Kerry Way gives you the chance to get to know the inland mountains and lakes of the peninsula. At the heart of Killarney National Park lies the Victorian noble residence, Muckross House. Built in the Tudor style in 1843 for an English family, the noble estate is just outside the town of Killarney.
I've had a great time hiking in Ireland. People have also been fantastic, always happy to share a joke, and very hospitable people, even to English travellers like myself. I think everyone who comes to Ireland falls in love with it. There's something in the landscape, the people, the music, we all seem to have a great affinity for it. So at the end of another hike, I just got to make my way to Killarney, take the train, and then it's all done.